But I looked over and I'm like, what is that sound? And it was like, oh, it's 6:30. Okay, it's 6:30. I'm getting to order. All right. We all set. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America,
to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. So, and we have roll call, please.
Mayor Smith,
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Valentine,
Here.
Trustee Stelter.
Here.
Trustee Schwartz. Here. Trustee Brenner.
Here.
Trustee Check.
Here.
Trustee Hunter. We have a quorum.
Thank you. Can I get, let's see, we need a motion to approve the agenda. Would someone like to make a motion?
I'll move to approve the agenda.
Okay. Trustee Hunter moved to approve, and do we have a
I'll
second?
second that.
Rick seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. So we have announcements here. There are none listed on the agenda. Any announcements by trustees? You have your thank yous?
I do.
Okay.
Okay, so these are communities' appreciations for the week. And the biggest appreciation goes to Bob Ushta and Tina Walker for purchasing and donating the flags to the town and to Public Works for hanging the flags for Flag Day. And we'll have the flags for the 4th of July. So huge, huge appreciation. I sure appreciate the colorful planters full of flowers that have recently appeared in front of the building shared by Colorado Farm and Food Alliance and Robert Arthur Art. They create a very inviting street front and storefront atmosphere. Happy to see a police presence and the ticketing warning folks to stop at stop signs. Corey Hettinger has done an awesome job sorting through our drinking water woes. I really appreciate that he stepped up at a critical time and took on a very difficult role. Thank you, Corey. I am so grateful for Emily for Peonia Books for bringing a world-renowned author for reading from his new book and a class on writing this weekend. It was truly amazing. I'm grateful for the Blue Sage for bringing the Smithsonian exhibit on rural America to Peonia. And I'm so grateful for whomever planted the linden trees throughout Peonia so many years ago. The rain, the double rainbow that happened last night, and all of the beauty in our valley right now. Grateful for farmers that grow incredible food and flowers. The success of an event where local artist Loria Weaver and her partner David Heskin gave thousands of dollars of art away to benefit the Learning Council. This was an amazing act of radical kindness and generosity. And finally, thanks to the producers who are working so hard to get the word out on the Front Range and beyond about how great the valley is and the amazing produce available here. In particular, Rubicon Coffee. I just saw them in Clark's Market in Denver, Storm Cellar Wines, and Ella Family Farms. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
And thank the community for sharing their appreciations.
And I'd like to do one thing. Could we all, I'd like to give Bob and Tina a round of applause for buying it. It made the life for the town so much easier. Thank you. Made it easy to put up the flags when we needed them to. Thank you. Any other announcements? Yes?
I have one announcement. The Western Slope Conservation Center is leading a hike to the spring, Peonia Springs, on Thursday. I think there might be one spot left. Go to the Conservation Center's website. And it's in partnership with the U.S. Forest Service and the Conservation Center. And it's just going to be looking at the springs and the area and what we can do to protect it.
Thank you. If there aren't any other announcements, we'll open this up to the public comment. Any topic that's not included under actions and presentations, you're welcome to come up and speak with a 3-minute limit. Ms. Patterson.
Ms. Sheree, makes me laugh. Okay. I don't know. Just recently I've been looking at the Zoom meetings and there's the voice to text and it is abhorrent. There is nothing that corresponds to what people are saying, or very rare. And either get rid of it or fix it somehow. You know, get another one. I don't know if it's only connected with Zoom or whatever, you know, and it's the standard one that's there, but it's awful. And I don't know that anyone watching that is hearing impaired or just wants to read along with what they're hearing, because sometimes it's not picking up either on the noises and being communicated clearly for people that are watching on Zoom, that's all. But maybe that's the reason why it's so garbled, the text.
Thank you. Anyone else? Yes, Orlean.
You remember.
Arlene Nierenberger, and Bernice Road. During previous meetings, I respectfully requested that Paonia officials refrain from flying the rainbow flag. Town officials need to avoid the tribalism of representing only one side of a controversy that has plagued Paonia for several years. A true leader encourages peace and unity instead of division. A true leader is cognizant of the fact that all constituents are to be represented equally without favoritism. I pointed out that the T represented in the LGBT rainbow flag advocates for mutilation of healthy children. Children are pressured into puberty blockers, cross-sex hormones, and surgeries that obliterate the sexual organs that they were born with. It has been said that many pharmaceuticals end up in our water supply. It is further said that sex hormones are hard to identify in treated water. The Paonia Water Report arrived in my mailbox this past week. There is no indication that Paonia Water Plant checks for any pharmaceuticals, let alone sex hormones. Children who transition to the opposite sex need to take cross-sex hormones for the remaining decades that they will be alive. How long will these children excrete sex hormones into the drinking water of future generations? All of us and all future generations will be affected by the sex hormones that contaminate drinking water. Contaminants in drinking water are especially damaging during pregnancy. If the pregnant mom is carrying a girl baby, several generations can be affected all at once by contaminants that the mom is exposed to. And I've got a chart here that shows the 3 generations that can be affected at once. I don't know how to show this. This big circle is the pregnant uterus. That's one generation. The second generation is this baby girl inside her uterus. And then because this baby girl that's developing, by the time she is born, has all the eggs that she will have the rest of her life, which is a third generation that will be affected by contaminants. Thank you.
Thank you. Would anyone else like to come up during this open comment time? Okay, seeing none, let's move on to the consent agenda. And which consists of the June 11th regular meeting minutes, the disbursements, and a liquor license modification for Good Love LLC. At this point, someone can make a motion to accept the consent agenda, or if anybody has any questions regarding the consent agenda.
I have a couple of questions.
Sorry, Trustee Brunner?
Thank you. Who is KA?
Did you explain the context?
There's a few charges from the meeting and travel account for Bowman, KAJ, approved by Stefan, a monthly lunch with SUP, and welcome lunch for KA.
I reimbursed that, I accidentally used that card and I reimbursed the town already for that one.
Who is KA?
Kaja, our new finance person,
Yeah.
I took them out to lunch, Kaja and Morgan,
That's the welcome.
as a welcome lunch.
So there's one that you had mentioned for approved by Stefan. This was her reimbursement for training. We sent her to Provo, Utah to train with Cassell. And so that one that you see that says Kaja Bowman, that's a reimbursement check for that travel.
And why doesn't the reimbursement for the lunch show up on this?
Well, it wouldn't have shown up on this one because it's it wasn't a reimbursement. She didn't do that reimbursement. Ruben just said that he took her out to lunch.
And more.
How did it wind up on the town card?
That was my accent.
Because there was this very similar incident to this a few years ago, and the mayor labeled it as malfeasance, using town funds for this kind of thing. So I'm just concerned when I see that in a disbursement.
It sounds like it's an error.
It was a mistake, accidental using a town card. So this brought up, this is brought up, this was brought up to me while I was on vacation, and one of the things that we're deficient in is credit card policy. That's forthcoming.
You know, may I just, trustee Bruner, when the finance committee met last week, we noticed this and then immediately pointed it out.
Right. I'm happy that you noticed that. Then the other one is the professional management, the $4,071 charges all on the same date. What is that one?
Are you saying professional management solutions?
Yes, I think I'm
I'm
saying
gonna pull that one up so we can see it.
$1,071 for charges.
Yeah, so it's actually one bill. So this is, if you look all the way to the left, it says 1325. And then right to the right of that is the invoice number, 84933.
This is our contract bookkeeper.
That's correct. So this is the people that do our bank reconciliations and are preparing our audit right now. It's the reason it's split up like that is it's between the general fund and our enterprise funds. So it's split equally amongst them.
I see. And so this isn't a monthly charge, or it is.
I think this was a monthly charge.
And some of these functions are being brought in-house.
We're trying to. We're working towards that end. Yes.
Okay, those are my questions.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else have any questions? With that in mind, would someone like to make a motion to accept the consent agenda?
I'd like to make a motion to accept the consent agenda.
We have a second? Second by trustee Hunter. All in favor?
May I make one more comment? So Professional Management Solutions have presented us with an updated agreement that'll be on an upcoming agenda. It's scoping down their original scope of work. So we're trying to bring that cost under control.
Great.
So the next would be staff reports.
Yeah, I've been out of town for 2 weeks, so I went on vacation and I had the Colorado Municipal League Conference. Our team has been working on updating the departmental scorecard. We don't have it tonight, but I do have two things that I wanted to present to you that you all need to be aware of. The first one is something that trustee Bruner has asked for before. It was a breakdown of what funds were, what cash on hand we had and where it was. The first thing that we needed to do was finish a trial balance for our audit for fiscal year 23. And I have that, a trial balance. It's going to change as we start doing our fixed assets. But at the end of December for 23, we can tell you exactly how much cash was in each fund. So that could be the capital improvement fund, the sidewalk fund, the enterprise funds, and the general fund.
Can you put that on someplace for public access? Maybe wherever it's appropriate, your report slot on the website, or?
I'm hesitant to put this because it's still a work in progress with our auditors and it's going to change. So
When it's finalized.
yeah, when it's finalized, it'll be up there with our CAFR, our comprehensive annual financial. But let me pull it up here. I've got to find the right screen. There we go. So the column all the way to the left, that was the trial balance or the final balance as of 12/31/2022. And the balance all the way to the right is our final balance for 23. So the number, what you want to see is that number going up or staying about the same. That's a sign of good and healthy. You're going to see one that goes way down. That's our sewer fund because we have so many emergency sewer repairs that we got to do. And this is an update. Our audit for 23 is going very well. It's getting done very quickly. It helps that they had our auditors and Professional Management Solutions already had everything lined up, ready to go. And today, I think I completed the questionnaire. So it's a fraud questionnaire if there's any fraud. It's like an intake questionnaire. I think a couple other people from town were also contacted about it. But you'll see streets cash. So that streets cash went from 300,552 to 400,482. The sidewalk fund from the end of 22 to the end of 23 went from $60,312 to $90,708. The sales tax, or what we call it sales tax, it's really the capital improvement cash, went from $605,868 to $846,524. And that's how we fund our capital improvement plan. So it's a really important fund. Water cash fund was the healthiest. It went from 1 million to 1.2. And you might say, well, why does this keep going up? It's so that we can fund the debt that we're going to have to take on to do all of our water projects. I'm going to show you what was submitted for our DWRF eligibility survey with CDPHE. That's our drinking water revolving fund. That's that state revolving fund loan program. I'm going to show you those projects that were updated and submitted to the state as well. Sewer was the one that took a hit, and it's because we had a lot of emergency sewer repairs. Doris Avenue was included in that. That was our only planned sewer repair. So our reserve there went from $690,560 to $168,908. Well, there was some concern that we were going to be in the red in the sewer department. I was really happy to see that because we got reimbursed with our DOLA grant for Doris Avenue, we stayed in the black. So that's really good to see. We do have a number of projects that need to happen in upgrades to our wastewater plant and our collections system. That's got to happen over the next few years. That's why we raised our rates, so we can build this reserve back up, so we can start funding those projects. Our trash fund, which we had historically had been that it was losing money, we did all right. So it went from $117,561 to $150,197. That's more appropriate for a sanitation fund, especially since trash trucks are really expensive when they break down. And so, not trying to wish anything upon us, but there may be a time where we have to do some repairs or even purchase a garbage truck. Our admin department went from 1.7 to 1. So this is the general combined cash, 1,702,000 to 1,618,000.
When you said 1 million, the two numbers you're giving, the first number is what was budgeted?
The first number is what was at the end of 2022, and the second number is what was at the end of 2023.
Thank you. And can I add too that some of this has to be a reserve, which means it can't be spent, but quite a bit of it is surplus, which we can use to fund town activities.
Correct. And so this is what you're seeing in red. These are just transfers. That's why they're shown in red. It's not that we're underwater. It's just these are transfers in and out of different accounts. It's part of what they have to do for trial balances. Our restricted funds, so these are like the debt reserve that we must have for sewer. That's stayed relatively the same. It can go down incrementally based on how much debt we have left to pay off. So that's where that went to. But I wanted to show you guys that we're almost done with this audit, and they're almost done with their part. So this will be the first time in like 6 years that the town will have turned an audit in on time. It's a really big step in the right direction, I think personally. Let's see. Some of the things I was telling you, we did this eligibility survey. So this was, let's see if I can, okay. So this is the eligibility survey that was submitted to CDPHE. This is, if it's not in this program, we cannot draw off of it for any sort of loans. So I did add some things from what was in here before. Most of this was in here, but everything in from 13 to 17 was newly added. 13 is rehabilitation or refurbishment of existing water plants to include possible conversion of lower plant to raw water storage and pumping facility. Number 14 is replacement of lead and copper water distribution lines for compliance with lead and copper rules. 15, filtration systems meant to remediate PFAS. So we had somebody talking about that earlier in this meeting. Now that it's in here, we can actually do some, if we needed to go that route, we could put filters in and get a loan for them. 16 is emergency backup electric generators at critical facilities. That's something that I've heard from our last budgeting session that you guys wanted us to consider. This is like our backup plan. So we're going for a grant, a state grant that gets packaged to FEMA for funding to get all of our critical facilities with backup generators. This is if we fail, we can't get them, or we need them desperately. So we can at least fund them for this program. The last one is raw water storage capacity improvements for both existing and new reservoirs. So that's something that I've heard in discussions with other trustees, that we need something more to store raw water. Well, now that it's included in this, we can go forward with it and get, seek state funding for it. So it was really important. As simple as this looks, it's a really important document that the state relies on for these sort of state loans. The scary part is when we start looking at costs, what our total costs will be for all of this stuff. And you can see what it would cost. Our most significant is construction or rehabilitation of distribution or transmission lines, including water pump stations for maintaining pressure, $25 million. Water storage facilities, $20 million. So it goes up pretty significantly from there. The one thing that I added to this survey as well, or another thing that I added, was green infrastructure. So that could be solar energy at our plants. In the past, we've looked at like small micro turbines within the water plant, but they were so cost prohibitive that for the amount of electricity that they generated, it didn't seem feasible. But we do have a pretty sunny area by our water plant that could benefit from solar. And so we added that in there as well. It's just another backup to try to help remediate the cost of our energy at our water plant. You'll notice that this isn't wastewater. So that survey is at a different time. That eligibility survey gets submitted at a different time. I don't think it's opened up yet. We would have gotten a notice because we're the contacts, Mayor and I. And we haven't seen one yet. But the total cost for all of these projects went from roughly $48 million to $61 million. There's a lot of projects that could be in the works. I wanted to show those to you so you guys can see that we're actually moving forward and trying to seek additional funding. The good thing about the drinking water revolving fund is that it does have principal loan forgiveness. So it's a grant that could pay. It's not guaranteed. We can apply for it and we can have that principal loan forgiven. It's a big part of this whole process. And then I have one more thing to show you. We're getting close to our special event seasons. You're going to have some public hearings about it today. And one of the things that comes up is, well, how do we know what sales tax has been generated? Well, I'm able to pull off of the Department of Revenue's website the sales tax by month. And this is it. So it might show a negative number, but that's because it's revenue and it's actually in brackets to show it's revenue and not, a debit. So that's actually credits to the town. And we're getting this from the state. So it technically is a debit from them and a credit to us. So you can see the sales tax that's generated. One of the biggest things that was surprising to me while looking at this is for the month ending May 31st. Let me hide these columns here real quick.
What page is that in the agenda?
You're not going to see this in the agenda. This is something I'm presenting right now. Okay. One of the most surprising things was Airbnb and the amount of sales tax revenue that we receive from them. Let me go down the bottom. So right here is Airbnb. We received, and this is for 1 month, almost $1,800 from them, $1,785.50. That was part of the sales tax distribution that we received in May. That's significant. There's a lot of Airbnbs operating in town. Our largest one that seems to be every month is Don's Supermarket with about $8,400. In the month of April, they had just over $10,000 in sales tax. And I thought that was pretty interesting to see what our top performers are. The most interesting thing that we can do with this information that comes from the state is I can select. Oh, it went away. Look at that. is I can select that it was special event tax. So I can parse it out by here, this revenue group. We just want to know what special event taxes there were. And so here's the special event taxes that we received for the month of May. It's pretty interesting because one of the names that comes up, it'll say either Cherry Days or Mount Harvest Fest. So those things do pull up. Southern Bell was they are the biscuit truck, right? And so they were here for Mount Harvest Fest. And you'll see the first filing period was there on September 2023. That was when they were in town. But now this revenue report is for May 31st, 2024. I think this will be helpful to advise us or inform your decisions moving forward. So. And that's really all I have to present.
Any questions for administrators? Yes.
I have two questions, Town Administrator Nguyen.
Sure.
Could you remind me again what our audit deadline is? Is it June 30th?
June 30th.
And then when will this?
I'm hoping before June 30th.
Okay.
So even typically you can ask for an extension. Our extension was denied because it was late last year and the year before. So they denied it. The good news is that we have until July 31st to really submit anything. As soon as I have it, and you've got to understand, I've got to complete an MD&A, so a management discussion and analysis letter that has to be done after the audit is completed. Because I have to look at our fixed assets, I have to compare it to last year's audit and create that document. It's going to take me some time. Last year I got it done in a week, well, really 4 or 5 days, but I was working on it every day. And so that would have to happen again. But as soon as it's done, I can submit it to the state before you even accept it. So we can meet that deadline. I don't think that's probably the right process to take, but it's something that if we're really tight, we can do. Otherwise, we could have a special meeting or could wait till our first meeting in July. I'm really hoping it'll be by our second meeting in July.
And my second question for you is with the revolving loan fund, when would we know if the principal was forgiven, at the beginning or at the end?
Oh, you have to spend the money first. So then you apply for it after the money's spent. So we won't know up front. That's why we have to budget and plan, like we're not going to get it. We're going to have to make these payments for 10, 15 years.
Yes. Trustee Brewer?
So on the revolving loan thing, so this is like qualifying to submit for grants, right? How does that relate to the $300,000 grant that just came up?
Yeah, so that's something later in the meeting. That $300,000 grant is a part of the drinking water revolving fund. We've already submitted for the water tank and our water capital improvement plan phase 1. And so this is to go towards design and engineering costs to assist with that. That is itself a grant, but it's a grant, but it's tailored as principal loan forgiveness. So that's how they do it. And we know that we're going to get that one. We know we have it.
But this thing you're presenting this evening is kind of like qualifying to go for more of those, right?
Correct. Yes.
So one thing that I would be really curious to see is a breakdown of all of our grants that were applied for and have, and how much they're for and when we expect the money and what our match is. If I could see that, I think it would be good.
Yeah, so my next town administrator report is the first meeting in July. I'll include that with our budget to monthly actuals so we can see the grant.
Great.
Yeah, can you keep that kind of as a running thing that maybe on your administrator's page
Absolutely.
that everybody can go look at, if that's possible?
I've already created the worksheet. It's ready for July, so it's coming.
Okay.
It'll be in my town administrator's report.
And I want to remind everybody that when Mayor Bachman left, she created a table that was in, I think, the April 4th packet. I have a copy of it, but it showed all the grants on one single page for the last 5 years, I think. Never asked for and given.
I've expanded that, so it also shows how much we've sought reimbursement for, how much is left, total amount left on contract.
And using that as your beginning template.
That's my
I think
thing.
that's great. Thank you for both of you for that. That's great. Any other questions? The administrator? All right, it's hearing time. We will go into a public hearing for the consideration of approval of granting a new tavern liquor license to Fiona's Bartique LLC for the premises located at 130 Grand Avenue, Paonia, Colorado 81428. So as part of the hearing, I am instructed to read this to everybody and into the record. So I will now open the public hearing on the application submitted by Fiona's Bartique LLC for the property located at 130 Grand Avenue, Paonia, Colorado 81428 for a tavern, in parentheses, city liquor license. The purpose of the hearing is to provide a public forum for all interested parties who wish to comment on these applications before the Board of Trustees. The procedure for the public hearing will be as follows. First, there will be a presentation by staff. Second, there would be a presentation by the applicant. After these two presentations, we will allow members of the public to speak for up to 5 minutes. All testimony must be presented at the lectern after you give your full name and address, and I swear you in. Please do not repeat points made by others, but it's fine to say that you agree or disagree with a comment previously made. Please direct all your comments to the Board of Trustees and not to the town staff or the applicant. After receiving public comments, we will allow the applicant and town staff an opportunity to respond and answer any questions raised by the public comments. I will then turn the matter over to the Board of Trustees, and the trustees may ask questions of anyone who testified. We generally will not ask questions during the presentations. Finally, I will close the public hearing and the Board of Trustees will discuss the matter and may take some kind of action. Once the public hearing has closed, no further comment from the applicant or public will be taken. However, the board may ask for advice from the town attorney. By the way, is our town attorney online?
He has been delayed, he will be here shortly.
Okay, good. And we'll introduce him to everyone. We have a new town attorney beginning tonight. So my first question is to the town clerk. Do we have proper notification for this?
Yes, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Oh, and wait a minute, do any trustees have any disclosures? Yes,
I
trustee
have a
Silver.
conflict of interest as my son worked on this project and I am going to leave the room now.
Okay, thank you. Any other conflicts with anyone? Okay, thank you. So would the town clerk please give the staff presentation?
Mine's mostly just gonna be going over the preliminary findings and report. You guys have seen me do this report one other time with our new liquor license. This is required by the state, that all of these things be met, and then it has to be done officially there. So, so far, Fiona's Bartique has met all of the qualifications so far, other than, I believe I put in my staff report that I was asking that if you approve the license tonight, that you make it conditional on the final inspection of their building project, which they've just finally moved into their building project out of the planning process, so they're making progress there. So their full application has been received. Where they're seeking the license is at 130 Grand Avenue here in Peonia. There has not been a denial of a liquor license application at that location for existing needs and desires being met. See there, she's entitled to possession of the premises. It's not a violation of the zoning, building, or fire laws and regulations of the area. It's not within 500 feet of any public or private school, principal campus of any college, university, or seminary. The neighborhood, the town limits, the petition that they put in, the town of Peonia has generally held that the town limits is the neighborhood, and so she did the required, more than the required number of in-town residents stating that they thought that there was a need or desire for this Fiona's Bartique. There is nothing in the background checks that caused any concern or would prevent them from doing anything. As noted before, I'm not allowed to put those in the packet. So we have pretty stringent rules about who can look at those and can't. And then the notice of the public hearing was physically posted on June 10th at her location at Town Hall on June 14th and published in the Delta County Independent on June 13th and June 20th, which met the 10-day public hearing notification stuff. So I have not found anything that would prevent them from legally being able to have a liquor license at the location.
Okay, thank you. Now for the applicant presentation, would the applicant or applicant's representative please come up to the podium, state your name and address for the record, and I'll let you do your name and address first.
Nathan Down, Canada, 40386 River Road.
Do you swear to tell the truth on this matter? Thank you. Please make your presentation.
Hello, Travis. I haven't met you guys before, I've been up here a few times. Sorry,
Take your time.
public speaking is definitely different. I don't know why I'm being emotional. I have been working on this project for over 2 years. I'm really happy to get to this point because we did just get, sorry, we did just get our plans permitted, so we have a permit now. We're starting building it out, and we've been able to get most of the building done, and we've been waiting to get this part done. So this has been the hardest part. And it's just, for whatever reason, it's just been hard. But what I'm trying to create is beautiful community space. I'm calling it, sorry, I'm calling it Humanist Boutique because I'm using antiques inside. I wish I'd stop being this way. Anyway, I'm gonna make it beautiful. That's what's important to me. And I want it to be a place where people come together.
It's okay, take your time.
It's just the sheer amount of effort it's taken to get to this point has been really, really hard. And
Kleenex in the room, do we?
you're not on it, but it's okay. It's Julie. So you don't all know what I've been through because I've been before the board before. Somebody, anyway, I'm just really honestly excited to finally get to this point where we can create something. And honestly, before I've been able to fill the whole room with people, but it's Tuesday and it's hot. Anyway, I don't know what else to say. I just am really excited to be able to start making this happen. I think it's going to be an awesome place for people to come and enjoy being a part of the community. And I think it'll be a business that supports the community as well. Thank you.
Thanks.
Sorry. Do I need to sign this?
I don't think so. We don't need her to sign. We have it all done, yeah.
Okay.
And so did anyone else, do you have anyone else from your,
Yes.
as an applicant who would like to speak during this presentation?
She'll cry too.
What? Okay, sorry. Sorry, I'm breaking the rules. Yeah.
Oh, okay, Ms. Bergman is the only applicant.
Right.
Okay, that's my
Okay, that is true. We own a business together. We're doing it under our business for the building, but I'm doing the cocktail.
All right. At this point, we would ask for public comment. I will now open the public comment portion of the public hearing. Anybody who would like to come up and speak regarding this application? Yes. Ms. Bachman. And please give me your full name and address, and you swear to tell the truth.
Okay, Mary Gavin, 511 Box Elder Avenue, and yes, I swear to tell the truth.
Make it happen.
Okay, I think this is going to be a truly wonderful place, especially situated where it is at the far end of Grand Avenue. I think it's gonna sync nicely with the business that Chrysalis brings down to that part. And it's going to, I think, revitalize and bring more energy. I mean, we only have 2 blocks of downtown. It's not a lot. And only one of those blocks is actually vibrant and active. So having that second block activated with the Bartique, I think is going to be a real benefit to this community. I think it's going to serve us as a tax base, as well as another place for the people who visit this town to come and enjoy it. So I'm heartily in favor of this. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else like to come up and speak? Yes. Give me your full name and address.
Lori Hunter, 41391 Omega Road, Paonia.
And do you swear to tell the truth on this matter?
I promise.
Thank you.
So I second everything that the previous speaker said, and I know we're not to repeat, so I second. And I wanted to add just a bit about Renee's character. I think you just saw some of it. She's committed, she's responsible, she's passionate. In addition, she has an incredible aesthetic, which you can probably already tell from the way that that building has progressed. She will do this, she will do it right, she will make the place where the community will come together, and I wholeheartedly support it. Hope you do too.
Anyone else from the public? None? Oh, please come up. I don't want to shut you down.
That's okay. My name is Marcia Brasonic. I live on Lambert Drive on Mesa, Paonia, Colorado.
Do you swear to tell the truth in this matter?
In every matter.
Okay.
I as well stand in support of this new business. I think it's going to be really exciting, an additional place for people to get together after work, to meet friends, to have people from out of the area come in and enjoy our community. And I agree with what our former mayor said as far as that end of town is pretty quiet in the evening. And this will give more opportunity for people to visit that area. During one of our previous hearings here, Robin Arthur, who opened that art store down in that end of the building, was really excited about having more businesses open because that will help her business as well, which will increase taxes for the town and bring more money into the town. And as far as the business being run in a very responsible, good manner, I have no doubt at all about Renee's character and the way she'll be running the business. So I stand in support of it as well.
Thank you. Would anyone else like to? Please come on up.
Hi, I'm Karen Goodwin. I live at 41515 Lamborn Mesa Road.
And do you swear to tell the truth in this matter?
Absolutely, yes. So I just wanted to back up everything our former mayor said and everyone else. I spend more time than I would like sometimes down at Barton Bargains. I'm one of the managers there and on the board of COS. And so I know, the other merchants around us, and I'm really, really looking forward to Fiona's opening. I think it's going to be nothing but a plus to the community. And we all love Renee. So she's done nothing but make friends since she's been here. So thank you.
Anyone else in the audience? Please.
My name is David Merrick, I live at 55 Pan American Avenue.
And do you swear to tell the truth in this matter?
I do, and I don't want to. I support this business. I don't need to repeat what everyone else has said. Anytime you take a vacant building and turn it into a good business downtown, it's a good thing. We want to have a vibrant economy in the downtown area. I think these folks have worked long and hard on this, and I think it'll really be a positive impact for the town.
Thank you. Anyone else? Going once? Okay, we're going to move to the next stage of this. So does the applicant wish to offer further comment?
I'm sorry, what?
Would you like to come up and offer any further comment?
I just want to thank everybody for what they've said because I will.
Is there anything else from town staff? Okay, hearing none. I will now close the public comment portion of the public hearing. So before we turn to trustee questions and deliberations, I want to state that the documents included as part of the record for this public hearing include all application materials submitted by the applicant, all materials included in the packets, All written referral and public comments received regarding the application, the notice of hearings, and the town's ordinances. Does anyone have any objection to the inclusion of these items in the record? Okay, hearing none. So now it's time for the trustees to ask questions. Would anyone like to begin with questions?
Guess my only question is, police department, do you have any concerns?
No, and not that 100 block. Parking is an issue, as we've heard from some folks, but as you'll see later on tonight, seems to be good. Our foot patrol at night seems to be working well with the downtown businesses, so we're good.
My question is, this liquor application is contingent on the final inspection, is that my understanding, and occupancy?
Okay. Clerk Better should answer that.
So, Colorado's dual licensing state, so her state liquor license will not be contingent on that, but it means that I won't issue her local liquor license until such time as it's complete, because I have to do a walkthrough and confirm that everything's where she says it is, that there weren't any major changes. And that's how the state balances that out, so it doesn't take away from local authority being able to make sure that it's something that fits in their area. So.
Mayor, if I may,
Yes.
so, and that's why in her staff report, Clerk Benner had asked that there be a condition. That's the condition she's asking.
And I think at this point, if the trustees have questions for the applicant, that's also, can they ask the applicant now? Any questions, or did I close that?
No, you can, if you come up with something that you still want to ask her.
Oh, yeah, okay. I didn't shut the door on that part of the hearing. So if trustees have any questions for Renee, the applicant, this would be the time to ask those as well. Any other questions? Everybody's all right? Well, at this point, hearing none, I will now close the public hearing and turn the matter over to the Board of Trustees for consideration of the resolution listed on the agenda. This is the board deliberation time, and this is your time to discuss the application, noting attributes that support a determination to approve or deny in accordance with applicable provisions of town code. So any discussion amongst the trustees?
I think it'd be a great asset to the town for multiple reasons.
Anyone else?
I second that.
Okay, if there is no further discussion by the Board of Trustees, I would entertain a motion.
I motion that we move forward with approval upon the conditions of completing a final building inspection in the town clerk walkthrough.
I'll second that.
Okay, you got both of those? Okay, then all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, thank you. Oh, yeah, I forgot about Rick. Hey.
Oh.
It might just disappear.
I know, right? Except his computer's here. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, we look forward to it.
Oh, yeah. Sure.
What? It passes. So we'll move on to the next agenda item listed as agenda item number 1, consideration of approval for a special event permit and liquor license for the Cherry Days Parade and Festival. And if anybody needs help following, I'm on page 70 of the agenda package. So, we just, Trustee Vetter, do you feel like you need to do any introduction as part of your packet?
No, but can I just be the town clerk, please?
What did I just call her? What did I call her?
Trustee.
Oh, sorry, no, just kidding. There is nothing, sorry.
No, I just wanted to apologize ahead of time. We know that our special event application is very confusing. It's something that we're finally down and working to. It's a lot of information, a lot of places, so we're happy to answer any questions you might have. And then my staff report, I think, covered the most important parts from a legal perspective, and there's no better advocate for Cherry Days, I think, than Mr. Bush.
So with that,
Hey, Robert Horstep, 502 Oak Avenue, Granite. I'm here representing one of the 5 longest running festivals in Colorado. Only identified 2 that are longer running, but I say 5 just in case. I might pick up those. The event coming up will be our 78th County Cherry Days. This year, we are starting on Independence Day and running the following 2 days after. It'll be a Thursday, Friday, Saturday event, primarily in the County Town Park, but we do include a parade with that as well. I don't have any additional, things to add to it, other than to say, in my application, I do want to apologize. As I filled it out, it was before the last meeting. And so the way I filled out the financial part was in anticipation of receiving the park fees back, maybe not all the other fees, and based on the last town meeting and the idea of legacy events, obviously something that's been around for 78 years, I think we qualify. And although I would not initiate asking that the fees be waived, because I was part of the group that actually started the fees years ago and agreed to them. So I wouldn't initiate that. Once they've been granted to someone else, I would ask that you consider granting waiving the fees for the County Cherry Days, all except for the liquor license. Okay.
Thank you. At this point, I'm going to ask if anyone from the audience would like to come up and make a comment. Yes, come on up. Mary.
Mary Backer, 511 Fox Elder. She doesn't need my endorsement, but I think Cherry Days is a wonderful, wonderful event, and we should support it any way we can. So waiving all the fees, but the liquor license fees, I think would be a perfect idea.
Anyone else? Seeing none, I guess at this point, trustees, do you have questions for Mr. Bushta?
Can I add something?
Yes.
His vendors will have Wi-Fi this year.
Oh, right. Right.
So that is something that's been on our plate to get done for a few years, and it is there. It's happening.
And I no longer have to run a 300-foot Ethernet cable from the Smith Center to the Eagles Nest.
Right.
Which has been my annual thing to do for several years now.
Well, make things set up a little easier. So does somebody want to make a motion, or would you like to have some discussion? No questions?
I'll move to approve this special event permit and liquor license for the Cherry Days Parade and Festival and waive all fees with the exception of the liquor license fee.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
And all in favor? Okay, it was unanimous. Okay, thank you. We may as well hang out here, huh? Because the next one is consideration of approval of special event permit and liquor license for the Top of the Rockies BMW route. And let me just ask before, just check with better if there's anything you would like to bring up before Mr. Bushka.
Yeah, I did receive a couple of questions about the on-premise permit. And so the difference between that and the special event liquor license is because the BMW rally goers camp, that provides them the opportunity if they want to go to the liquor store and buy a 12-pack to be able to have that in their tent. This was done, that I know of for sure last year, probably in previous years as well. And the reason there's more in there about the beer garden and how it's going to be roped off is because in order to not violate state liquor laws, you can't have the two combined. So if you're purchasing beer from the beer garden, it can't go to your tent. And if you bought a 12-pack, you can't take it into the beer garden, but it's one of the state's liquor laws. So that was a little confusing to a couple of people. So I just wanted to let you guys know what that was about.
And Ed, if I can add, prior to me taking over this event, I don't want to talk about who ran this before, but we were not exactly legal. So this idea of a special event permit and a liquor license on the same location was something that I researched and made sure that we did right so that we were in compliance.
And if I might just ask Chief Lamminger just to weigh in on that, the on-premises permit, if you are.
Yeah, we're on board. And just so everybody has some data, we pulled some numbers based on that event in the past. 2023, we had 11 incidents in town in our window. Not involved. 22, we had 10 incidents. 21, we had 12 incidents. It's running pretty even throughout that weekend, even with addition of the license last year in this process. So we have no issues.
Thank you.
And I will add that I did make a mistake in the packet. I did say, I think I mentioned the 6th month, which in fact is the 7th month, as the chief has pointed out to me, and we've kind of fixed that. So if you're looking at the packet, we have adjusted that data.
Okay, do you want to go ahead and give us your background for this event?
Sure, certainly. I'm a member of the Smith Center board and have been since Ellen Smith passed away. The Smiths, Ellen Smith was always the host for the BMW rally, and the year after she passed away, the year she passed away was kind of a mixed bag, but the year after she passed away, I took over as the host, representing the Smith board for this event. This is the 52nd BMW rally, and this is the 35th consecutive rally in the town of Perry. So they used to go every other year, or they would maybe stay as many as 2 years in one location and move on. They came to Paonia and never left. And so we've become the host for this rally. I also want to add that the liquor license, and we brought that up, that belongs to Paonia Cherry Days. This is Cherry Days' way to put some seed money in for the following year. So we run the beer garden for the BMW rally. And I believe that's it.
Thank
If there's
you.
any questions.
Let me ask the audience first, if anyone would like to come up and make a comment?
Yes.
Mary Baffin, 511 Box Elder Avenue. Not only do I support this event, I think it's great fun. It has brought to this community new residents that are real benefit to the community. The other thing I'd like to say is I'd like to commend both Sam and Mrs. Bush for their diligence in investigating the liquor license and making sure that it was done correctly. So thank you very much.
Anyone else? Come on, back up, and at this point, trustees have questions for Mr. Bushta? Okay,
And also as a legacy event, I'd like to ask that all the fees less the on-premise permit, which is the same cost as liquor license, but it's a liquor permit, so we'll pay for that. I would ask that all fees less the on-premise permit be waived.
again, any questions? Yes, trustee Schwartz.
This is for town clerk Better. Is that's been done before in the past, is the waiving of fees?
Oh, yeah, they just waive different ones. The only thing I would add to that would be, the not waiving the on-premise fee and the special event liquor license fee. There's the two fees there.
And the way I submitted the package, and I believe the town clerk rearranged a little bit, which is fine, is I submitted the liquor license along with the Cherry Days packet, since Cherry Days was doing it, but in fact, it's for the BMW rally. So I plan to pay for both those liquor licenses as well as the on-premise permit.
Any other questions of Mr. Bushta or just in general? All right, are you ready to make a motion?
Sure, I move that we approve the special events permit and the liquor license and waive the other fees for this license, this event permit.
to clarify, would you keep the special event liquor license on premise fees?
Those are the two fees, yes, that I was trying to accept, gave the fees except for the liquor license and the premises fee.
Did that, were you able to get that? Okay. Okay, cool. Do we have a second?
Second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, that motion passes. Thank you. And I wanted to just interrupt the meeting to, I see that our new attorney, Clay Buckner, is on Zoom. And I just want to, we all have met him, but introduce him to the viewing public and just welcome. He was there.
Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Good, there you are. Hey, and nothing other than that. I just wanted to acknowledge that you're here. Thank you.
Sure, thank you. I think if you promote me, I'll take a place in the window pane of the video.
What's that mean?
If we make him in the Zoom,
Yeah.
he'd end up taking it from the.
Is that a good thing or a bad thing? I am a Zoom idiot, so you, as far as I can see, you have your own pane.
Yeah.
So that's good, I guess, right? Okay. All right, next, agenda item 3, consideration of approval of the Drinking Water Fund Town of Paonia Design and Engineering Draft Loan.
Point of order.
Oh.
We have not gone out of the public hearing.
Oh, did I not close it?
Yes.
Good thing you're here. Wait a minute.
No, I have you noted as closing the public hearing at 7:16.
Oh, well, it's all mind meld. That's all I'm gonna say.
Always good to double check.
No, good. I didn't know I had. Anyway, so let's see, Stefan, would you like to describe this?
Yeah, so I spoke about this a little bit earlier. This is the $300,000 principal forgiveness loan that's actually a grant from DWRF for design and engineering costs for phase 1 water capital plans or projects. In order for us to move forward with it, we have to have this presented, and then it has to be signed before I can even send this back to DWRF. This is something that we desperately need. We budgeted, I think it was just shy of $1 million in water for legal services this year for design and engineering costs. And this goes a long way at reducing the cost that we've already budgeted for. So I'm hoping that it gets approved tonight so we can move forward with it.
Okay, any questions from the audience? Comments? Yes.
Mary Beth on 511 Boxholder Avenue. I was really excited to see this on the agenda. We have been working toward this for a couple of years now. It has taken many, many steps to get to this point. And to have this $300,000 basically just given to us to do this design and engineering work is really wonderful. So I commend Stefan on this audit work because he has done some really amazing stuff to get this pushed through, as well as James Starnes from Respect. Yeah, Respect. So definitely let's move forward with this. The other thing I want to commend is that the CIP plan for the drinking water plan. I am so glad that you included the water lines, the green infrastructure, and the generators in it, because there is a grant opportunity through WaterSmart coming up with a due date of October 31st that will be able to pay for rehabilitating the spring water lines, the collection lines up at the spring, and also if we decide we can do solar generators out pan, it will pay for those as well. So hopefully we'll be able to, if you can finalize, this is a good thing because we have to have a plan in place. So thank you.
Thank you. Hey, any questions? Yes, Trustee Bruner.
So, I don't know this, but I think I've read that a lot of times engineering costs are around 10% of a project. Are you aware of a rule of thumb like that?
There's no hard and fast rule. So I've heard it different things. I've heard 10% if you're designing a house. I've heard 30% if you're designing a highway. And it fluctuates because there's things like scope creep and change orders. So I can't say that there's a hard and fast rule, but any little bit helps to help offset that cost.
So that's my real question is this, how far is this gonna go? Because the project, 10% would be a $3 million project. And I think we're looking at twice that approximately. So when we get into this, then we're gonna be in for another 300 someplace down the line. Where's that gonna come from?
Yeah, so to answer your question, I believe if you saw the last, oh, shoot, I'm sorry.
Time's up.
I gotta go home. If you saw our last monthly budget to actual, you'll see that we've spent a few $100,000 already out of the water fund for design engineering. So we're already spending that to get to this point. We've got more to go, and we've budgeted for more as well. So I think this will get us, with what we've budgeted this year, in addition to this 300,000, will get us to the finish line on designing our almost 2 miles of distribution pipe, helping with the right-of-way engineering that's needed. That's that steel distribution pipe, getting rid of that, making it high-density polyethylene, the plastic pipe. It should also get us to the finish line for the other projects within our phase 1.
Okay, so.
Other questions?
I don't know if I answered it. That's why we raised rates, was so that we could cover the cost of engineering, should we not have gotten this grant as well. So we're able to cover the rates. Well, we still have to construct, right? And so we still have to plan on maybe we don't get principal loan forgiveness. There may come a day where we can, but right now we're trying to build those reserves so that we have the reserves that we need to be able to debt fund projects.
Anything else? Someone like to make a motion then?
I'd like to move that we approve the Drinking Water Revolving Fund Design and Engineering Grant.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Next agenda item does not have any information in the packet, but I think Clerk Better, you would talk about the Google poll you just emailed out.
Yes, I already had quite a few responses on it. But if you haven't looked in your email, there's a doodle poll in there and it has about 6 different dates in it for a planning commission and board of trustees joint meeting for the presentation of the final draft of the comprehensive master plan and to determine processes and timeline for the final adoption of the master plan. I put a deadline on it of July 5th. So if you guys could look at your schedules and see which of those days would be best for you, then we can hopefully get back on track again.
And if I just might add, just for public purposes, the dates being looked at are between, I believe it's July 18th.
Yeah.
And date through the 26th. We have a meeting on the 23rd, but we're looking at that week and a half, just for the public purposes.
All the meeting times are 6:30 though, just so everybody knows.
Yes.
I didn't receive that email. Please.
Did anyone not get it? I got it. And then hopefully the planning commission members got it. All right.
We did have one who called in and it gave us.
Oh, good.
So
we could have. Okay. Questions or comments on the joint meeting? Okay, with that, the Public Safety Committee, you guys have been busy. Who would like to do the explanation? I know it's all here, but it'd be nice to.
So.
You didn't figure out who the spokesperson was.
Yeah. So what we did was kind of split responsibilities on this. The police department's role in this was to count cars for various intervals throughout the day. Between 6 a.m., 7 a.m., 10 a.m., noon, 2 in the afternoon, and then that kind of midnight to 2. To see how many open spaces there were in the 100 block and the 200 block at any given time. Counts weren't made at every single one of those time slots because we may have had a call for service, we were on a crash, and then it's something else, we were in a meeting or training. But we compiled most of the data we could get. And then we sent that to the trustees. And that was kind of put into this report here. Kind of what we saw, that was there's, at any given time in the day, there are a fair amount of spaces on Grand and 100 block and 200 block. Obviously that midnight to 2, there's a lot of space available. The cars that are parked there, from what we're gathering, speaking with people, most of those cars belong to residents in the area. That's why they're parked there. That's another reason, if you look in our code, that no overnight parking, it's not in our muni code. We don't enforce that on rent, so that doesn't need to be there. It wouldn't make sense really to enforce that as it's also known for residential, and they still make things very difficult. Yeah, that was kind of our role in it, and then the trustees also took the other half of that.
Right, so trustee Check and I divided. I took the west side of Grand, he took the east side of Grand, and we went down and talked to every business and just kind of asked if they thought parking was a current problem, if they thought it would become a problem, if they had any suggestions, comments. And that's shown in the report, but overwhelmingly, the majority does not think it's a current problem. I do think it would be very prudent of the town to keep an eye on the future. Keep an eye out for real estate that we could use for parking, definitely improve the existing town lot, the EV lot with paving, striping, signage, that type of thing.
Mayor, if I may, can I ask, what does this mean? There were 3 businesses that prefer less or no parking at all?
Yeah, they want a walkable community.
Wow.
Yep.
Where are they gonna leave their cars? Where are they going to leave their cars while they walk around town? So
Yes, go ahead.
may I address
Yes,
the question? When you were doing your survey, were you discriminating between employees and owners of businesses?
I spoke to both. I tried to speak to the owner of the business if they were available, but I was also speaking to whoever I could, whoever wanted to talk to me.
Right, so may or may not have been authorized to and know what the owner feels. My comment is.
On this block of Grand, I spoke to every owner of the
Okay,
business.
all right. I know there's some stores that feel it's a problem. They comment about, a truck left parked right in front of their store for several days. And I think that that view deserves some respect as far as the no overnight parking. I thought that was for snow removal in the winter. I mean, there's got to be a time when there's no cars on the block so they can scrape it all in the middle of the street. Or maybe it doesn't snow anymore?
It's the way it's phrased is earlier on parking restriction is 72 hours. So even for our residences on Grand, and depending on if we have a complaint or not, if you were parked in front of, for example, Town Hall for 3 straight days, at that point, we're probably going to pull a plate, see if we can contact an owner and figure out what's going on there. If we had a complaint on that, but our parking restrictions are 72 hours.
I'll be the first one to admit, when I'm sitting at my desk, I see it's the Coke truck that parks and takes up handicap spots. I'm always the one that makes a complaint. There's a delivery area for a reason. You're parked over handicap spaces, or ADA spaces. I don't care if it's a semi truck making a delivery. You're taking a valuable space away from somebody that may need it. So that's why there's a tree in my office, so I can't see the road very well. Because I'm the one that makes a lot of those complaints.
Trustee Brunner, did you have other questions or?
No, just make the statement. I think we should be looking ahead. I think 2-hour parking would be a really good idea. I think no overnight parking is also appropriate.
And it sounds like there's nothing in town code about overnight parking. Because
Mayor, if I may, so when we did our parking update, we made it so that every street sign in town was lawful. We've made it into an ordinance. We can change that pretty easily by adding those parking restrictions. We have a section where we can just add that in to our parking restrictions, be it 2 hour or no overnight parking. We can also at that same time add no left turn if the board so desires.
No backing out.
Yes, trustee Hunter?
If I could add, but first of all, I want to correct myself. There was one business, the Delta Health Clinic. I didn't speak to an owner there, but just to correct myself. But also, I did specifically talk to people about would they want to see restrictions, 2 hour parking, no overnight parking. It was overwhelmingly against 2 hour parking.
Because the owners park in front of the business.
Also because what I heard overwhelmingly is business owners didn't want to see anything deterring people coming into their business. They didn't want to see any restrictions. At most, the one potential restriction that people were most agreeable to was no overnight parking.
Trustee Check, do you mind reporting on your interviews?
Well, it was a survey. It wasn't really meant to lead to some, I was just trying to get a feel for the owners' opinions. And they varied pretty wildly, actually, with some really crazy ideas, like a parking garage. I mean, it wasn't here, and I thought that seems pretty silly for a town this size to try to find property and build a parking garage for parking where there's a lot of empty spaces. Grand Avenue.
So how were you able to talk to an owner or
Right.
primarily? Did you find the owner of the business?
Yes. And I did both. There were mostly owners that I spoke to, but some people who just were employees of the businesses. And there were other requests, like more handicap spots, but I think there's already 3 on this block.
Yeah, we've got more than that. I think there might be 3 on this side alone.
Yeah. What I'm really curious about is this intersection between the research that you all have done and our ordinances for parking for new businesses. And that's something that I'm really interested in exploring, because what I don't want to do is create all these impediments for new businesses to come into town. So and I'm meeting with Stephanie to talk about next steps this week about that. And this is just really, I think it just goes so hand in hand about how do you encourage business and also have available parking.
Yes, trustee Hunter.
One additional point, and that I'll be done, but something that Chief Lamminger had brought up is the businesses that do think parking is a problem are at this end near the corner where everybody comes into town and turns onto Grand and takes first available parking. And so that's kind of a bottleneck, and Chief had pointed out that that's, not uncommon. You turn the street, you take first available. So it does seem to be localized to that end.
Human nature to. Oh, I didn't ask if the audience had anything they'd like to say. I know this isn't, it's a quasi agenda thing, but any comments from the audience? Yes.
It's kind of neat to be on the flip side to get them to stop.
Very careful, all of the box on. I like you many guys. You did an amazing job, and I was really impressed with the data that you collected. And I think it goes to that what the board hears generally is the squeaky wheel. It's the single unhappy person, whereas most of the people don't come to board meetings and don't have a problem, and so they don't say anything. And so to go out and actually talk to the businesses and see what they're saying versus listening to the squeaky wheel, I think it's really, really worthwhile. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for all 3 of your time.
Yes. So what do you think what are the next steps? What do we do with this?
Oh, did you have anything to say?
Oh, sorry.
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry.
Rick you did a body language and I'm sorry I didn't get the call on you. Sorry, Rick.
The only thing that I'd like to add to it is every winter we have the same problem. Snow removal on Grand Avenue sucks. And it's not the public works, it's not the weather, it's because we have cars parked all the way up and down. So I would like to propose at some point that we have a snow removal parking on one side of the street for 2 hours or 4 hours, and then on the other side of the street for 4 hours. So say from 8 until noon, no parking on the west side. And then from noon until 4, no parking on the east side. And that way we'll get the snow removed. And yeah, it's a pain for anybody that works or lives in downtown, but we got to fix this snow removal. We haven't had a terrible winter for a long time, but I remember when Bill, the peddler, Bill Mann used to cut a tunnel through the 6-foot berm in between the streets so people could cross the street. And that wasn't so long ago.
It's not uncommon, right? It's not uncommon to have an emergency snow route or parking program, especially in the Midwest. And we didn't just do it in previous communities I worked in. It wasn't just in our central business district, could apply to neighborhoods as well. And so, hey, if it's just as Trustee Stelling was saying, if it's from 6 to noon, you're not parking on the east side of the street. So it's an ordinance that we can consider as well.
I guess I would just wonder if the implementation, the enforcement of it, if that's doable. That would be part of the
Yeah, I
conversation.
think it's like we discussed before, enforcement's, if that's a focus, that's a priority, then that's what you focus on, and that's where you direct your resources. That's just the decision the town has to make.
Yes.
Just one thing to add is Oak Street is notorious for that. I drive the ambulance and going down Oak Street after a snowstorm is always a nightmare. Oak Street is on the other side of the tracks. Well, actually, it's just past Bill's place. And I've been down there where the snow is, they can't move the snow anywhere. They pile it up against the cars and then the cars can't move.
Mhm.
And that's another problem, but the road is just glare ice because it's completely shaded.
Yeah, on the trees.
Yeah. And also maybe, North Fork? Might be another one where it's bad. There's a couple of spots there that's almost impassable when it snows. And emergency equipment, especially the fire trucks, it could be a real problem.
Good thing, good things to discuss. I'm not sure where we go with it necessarily. It seems like some of the parking lot improvements could be a budget discussion. For sure, but as far as new code for parking, that definitely has to be perhaps brought by staff for discussion, or what's the?
I think there's two different pieces to this code, right? There's a zoning code that I think we're meeting on for like parking requirements for businesses with one of our plan commission members. And that would be something that I would say, hey, the board probably should task the plan commission with looking at that change to zoning. And then the second one is parking restrictions. That's more, a legislative decision that you guys would make. So if there's no parking, let's just say overnight parking on Grand, that would be a decision you guys would have to make. And if you would direct staff to write it, we'd work with Clay to get an ordinance that would fit what you're looking for.
And I think there's a third one too, not just like restrictions and changing ordinance, but looking ahead. And like, where can we be proactive knowing that, things are changing, and how do we be proactive as a community while we still have the opportunity to be?
And are you referring to more parking outside of the two streets? I'm not sure what your opportunities are you
There's
referring
a
to.
number of different solutions in here, whether it's a new parking lot, working together as a community to utilize our spaces better. Like, there's quite a number of possibilities that we could look at, but it would just take some forward thinking to say, how would we address this?
But you mean more parking available, not
Yes.
less. That's what I wasn't sure if you
Oh,
were
I'm
thinking we'd
sorry.
be more or less. Okay.
Yeah,
Thank you.
more, but not like a parking garage.
Yes, Matt.
I just want to add one more thing, it's, you know, we read through this and based on what you're saying, that doesn't mean that the business owners that are reporting or that target spot, that doesn't mean that that's not accurate. That certainly could be accurate in front of their business. Their business may have people parked there all day long, and it's difficult for other people to park in those spots. So this is not a if this, then that situation. It could be both, right? This is just what we came up with. These are the numbers we have. But we don't want to, you know, belittle or set aside those business owners' concerns either. That doesn't make them not valid. Right?
Trustee Bruder.
Not to beat it to death, but I mean, so I too think that we've got a problem with our parking requirements as a zoning thing. And if we get rid of them, which is probably the equitable thing to do, because where are they gonna get this parking? We're gonna need a 2-hour parking limit. So, you know, if we're gonna look ahead, I mean, especially that we're gonna invite all these new businesses in, we're not gonna have any new parking lots. Probably not, you know, they're not gonna be in front of the business they wanna go to. So I think the 2-hour limit is probably a really good thing to consider.
Madam Mayor?
Yes.
There was one suggestion that I thought was pretty interesting as far as businesses on Graham that don't have off-street parking, starting a fund to buy land to create parking that would be funded by those businesses that don't have off-street parking.
Have you identified a place where that might be appropriate?
No.
So I've looked.
Yeah,
I haven't either, so.
And those programs are like pilot programs, so there's it would be a payment in lieu of parking instead of payment in lieu of tax. And I think we had something like that before and it got removed. But it's something that could be considered, but you know, however the board wants to move, you know, staff will create something for you. So.
And at this point, all we could do would be provide some direction to staff.
I think Mayor, if I may, I think it may be prudent to wait till my meeting with Trustee Schwartz and Commissioner Howe, right? Yeah. That we have later this week to see kind of what their thoughts are. And then we'll bring that back to another board meeting. And it may be tasking the Plan Commission with doing something on the zoning side of things that we can possibly do in tangent with what's going on. Parking restrictions that the board would put in for, you know, no overnight parking, 2-hour parking, those kinds of things.
So you want to wait till maybe either the first meeting in July or the second meeting to let this have a chance to percolate with staff and then bring back just a discussion point again, not necessarily a motion to be made at that meeting, but just more information for discussion purposes.
That sounds right.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, that sounds reasonable to me. A little placeholder. Okay. Anyone else? Anything on this? This is great. Thank you very much for the time the two of you put in and officer and Chief Laminger and your officers. Thank you very much. This is good information to have and things to think about. Unless anyone else has anything else, I call this meeting adjourned. Everyone. Thank you, Clay.
You're welcome. Have a great night.